When you see somebody come in immediately after getting laser, how do you know that the skin is not fully intact?
I like to start on the lighter side because we can always go darker or go more full when I see them for their touch-up. Maybe that's all they wanted. They like that softness. They like that level of just a little bit more natural.
We normally say after laser, it's a good idea to wait at least 3 months before you get tattooed again.
I've had clients come to me that have had laser elsewhere with yellow brows, and I can tell the skin has been different.
Permanent makeup is often advertised as semi-permanent, but some of the pigment that's being used is far from semi-permanent. Welcome to the Faded Podcast. Today we have Sara. Sara is a permanent makeup artist here in the Vancouver area, and she goes by IrishWolf Artistry. Welcome to the podcast, Sara.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Sara was a client of ours, and she's also been working in the area doing eyebrows. Do you do lip blush?
I do lip blush now, yes.
Okay. Eyebrows, lip blush, sometimes freckles, I'm assuming.
Sometimes freckles, rarely, but mostly eyebrows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do any eyeliner?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Yeah. And thanks for sending so many of your clients to us to clean their canvas before you do their brows. How does that usually work? Do they usually ask you to touch them up?
They would prefer that because laser usually scares 80% of my clients before I educate them a little bit on it. So before I see them, I ask them to send me a photo. So I see how much ink is in their skin currently and if it's going to be a successful cover up. If I can't really tell through the photo, I'll have them come in for a consultation and then we will see their options. With the laser, I do push laser a lot more than doing a cover up because to me, I feel like when you cover up, even if it all depends obviously, but if it's a light gray, ashy, I know I can do a nice cover up, but maybe in 6 months to a year, you're going to see all that again.
Yeah.
So you're at this point now to get a clean slate, start fresh. That's always my number one, and it is your face. So I take it seriously. Your face, your money, you have this option now.
Yeah, it's kind of like a window of opportunity. You either do the laser now or you go down the road of doing touch-ups or trying to fix up work. And then if you decide you want to do the laser after, it's much more difficult because you've added more pigment. When you look at brows, what is the deciding factor? Like, why would you sometimes tell a client, look, it's probably better for you to get laser right now as opposed to just touching it up? Is it the saturation level?
Yes.
Is it sometimes the shape too? Do they want to change the shape?
It could be the shape, absolutely the shape, the saturation level.
I'm just curious because I'm never really part of this conversation, but when clients express their concern about laser, what's the reason why they tell you that they don't want to do laser?
I hear they're going to lose their hair.
Okay.
It'll burn their skin.
Okay.
They've had experiences with laser tattoo removal where it was so painful. After now seeing you as well, it was such a breeze. Like, I know you're not asking me that question yet, but I get excited talking about it and expressing to them how easy it was. And
so you came to us to get your eyebrows removed at one point.
right.
Did you have those same concerns? Were you worried about your hair falling out? No. I think I would. If I was going to get laser, I'd be like, I've heard a lot about this hair loss, or, I've seen people get their eyebrows singed where it's just all white hair and then they end up breaking off and getting all brittle. So I think I would be concerned if I didn't have any firsthand experience. How does it usually work then? You usually recommend them to get a couple sessions of laser to lighten it up, or do you recommend complete removal if you have that chance?
I say both, if it's a nice light removal and they just feel comfortable with that. And I know that they're in good hands going to you. And when they come back to me, they say they loved the consultation, as did I with you. Are you sure you want to do this? Here's the possible risks. I love that you're preparing me for an outcome that there might be a shade of pink and yellow, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And it is a journey. It does take some time.
I guess, when clients come into you and you tell them, okay, hey, look, it's better, I recommend you get laser. I know from an artist perspective, it's hard to cover up work. It's possible that even from tattooing, clients come in and they want to put a new tattoo over top of an old tattoo, whether it's permanent makeup or just a body tattoo. And they're not thinking about the new image that they're looking to put over top of what's existing. They're just in their head, they just think, I want to cover it. And for some reason, I think a lot of people think of tattooing as it's just going to, whatever you put over top is just going to kind of defeat what's underneath. And that doesn't always happen. It definitely looks great in the original picture. You take a photo at the studio and it's like, oh, that's awesome. There's a lot of contrast between the new tattoo and the old one. But then when time goes on, that new tattoo starts settling in a little bit and the contrast reduces. And I guess that's the same thing you're looking at, because you have a unique style with your brows. The way you do brows is not like everyone else does, in my opinion. That's why we try to send so many of our clients to you. You do such a great job.
Thank you.
And I think the beauty behind your work is the use of space. I think you kind of understand how pigment's going to heal over the long run, and you put a little bit more space in between the strokes, just so it doesn't kind of bleed into one shade. And I think that's what I love about your work. And you don't do microblading, you do nano strokes, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Did you start off doing microblading?
I did start off doing microblading, yes.
Okay. So for anyone who doesn't know, well, maybe how about you explain what microblading is?
So microblading is a manual tool. It's dipped in pigment and then it's small cuts. I don't want to knock microblading. It's suitable for certain clients, more younger skin. I still prefer Nano. That's just my personal opinion.
So what's Nano?
And Nano is a tattoo machine, single needle, sometimes more than one needle, but it's a lot more delicate, and it punctures holes in the skin like little pixels, implanting the pigment. So there is no cutting. It's more versatile, better for all skin types. You can do the powder brows, you can do shaded strokes. You have a lot more control of your saturation, depending on the client's skin, all of that. So,
okay. And you studied under Hoy, who's in Calgary.
Yes.
Hoy's awesome.
She's awesome.
I'm definitely.
Hoy.
Hey, what's up, Hoy? You better get out here on the podcast.
Yeah.
I want to have her here so bad on the podcast because she's like an innovator in the permanent makeup world. And she's doing laser now too. She's doing such a great job. She's doing, permanent makeup removal, lots of skin stuff, which is really cool to see their business grow. But I've been a fan of Hoy for years. I think we met back, I don't know how many years ago we met at the Calgary Tattoo Convention, and we've kind of stayed in touch over the years. And I've watched how she's taken the nano strokes and really kind of branded it and put her own twist on it. And you can definitely see that you've been, trained properly by her. So she's great. Hopefully we can get her on the podcast at one point here.
I'm sure she'd love to.
Yeah.
Come visit Vancouver again.
Yeah, for sure. Depending on what type of client we have, we do quite often recommend you for, if they want like a nice fluffy kind of natural looking brow. That's what I think you're known for.
Yeah. And going back to like starting with microblading, when I saw Hoy and I saw her work and I went straight to Calgary, learned from her. I've seen her in person 3 times and done a lot of training with her, which she finally told me to stop. She's like, stop coming. You know what you're doing. But, I got obsessed with it. Like I love doing it. But microblading, I took the clients and realized it wasn't suitable for all skin types. If I could do something that was suitable for everyone, give everybody what they needed, best fitting for their skin type and all that, then I'm going to do that and only that.
Because basically microblading, it's not a blade. It's a bunch of needles that they just take and like turn to the side. So it's pretty much like taking a mag and dipping it in pigment and slicing the skin open. So I would think that that's much more traumatizing than using a single needle with a machine that has a lot of torque that's just puncturing the skin with ease.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see why nano strokes would not only look good right away, but over time, I think they would heal more crisp and stay more crisp over time.
Right. No, I agree. Doing the microblading and having microblading done on my skin's really dry. It looked great even up until I saw you. I think you're probably like, oh, it's not bad, but for me,
I was lying.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding.
okay.
I usually tell people straight up how I feel, but when people come in to get removal done, it's not really, my opinion doesn't matter. It's what they think, and what their artist thinks. But yeah.
So with my microblading, I had my initial session and my touch up, and it just soaked up right away. And it was really lovely. It was really nice. The shape was great. I could laminate and it looked great, but I needed something softer. I wanted to be more fresh, especially in the fronts where I actually have brow hair. I didn't need all those strokes. And like you were saying, the trauma with the microblading and the strokes placed together over time, it did kind of look very solid and blocky. Yeah. And I needed that airiness and just the softness coming back. So that's what I was after.
So you came in and you had a few, how many sessions did we do?
2.
We did 2 sessions.
2 or 3? 3.
We must have done more than 2 because
did 3.
You ended up with yellow brows.
Yep.
You came in with pretty solid brows. After the first session, I believe they were red. So all the dark lifted and it left the undertone, which was kind of a red, maybe an orangey looking color. Yeah. And then after the next session, we removed all that red, which left behind the yellow.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure we hit the yellow once to try to lighten it up. And a lot of times the yellow is just so stubborn. And they say, they market these lasers like they can remove all pigments. Well, that's not in all cases. There's some pigments that are just completely resistant to the laser, and yellow is one of them. I'd say we have like a 50-50 success rate when we're trying to remove the yellow. In some cases, it does lift. In other cases, we hit it and it reacts. Like you'll see that it's absorbing the laser, but nothing happens. And, we've come to the point now where if a client comes in and we hit the brows a couple times and we're not seeing any progress at all, we'll just tell them to stop because we don't want clients coming in and spending money and not seeing results. So after that, if there's no possibility for the laser to work, then we do recommend saline. Saline removal, some people call it glycolic acid. There's different I guess they use different chemicals depending on how they were trained or what they have available. I use saline, and it's made by Lift. It's called Lift. I think it's LI Pigments that makes it.
Yeah.
But I've known tattooers who have done this like well before saline was even a thing. They would use witch hazel and just use witch hazel and tattoo it into the skin, and it will pull the pigment out. So it's not such a new thing, but it's a new kind of phenomenon, I guess. A lot of people talk about it now and market it as an alternative to the laser. So yeah, you actually came in after your 3rd session of laser and we did the saline. So how did that go?
It went good. And when I messaged you and took a close-up of what yellow was left before that 3rd round of laser, it wasn't even that bad, but it did lift a lot. The laser did take out a lot of the yellow. It was barely there. But again, for me, I already gone that far. I wanted to, okay, let's do it all. Let's do the saline, and the saline lifted it a lot.
Did it?
I'm so happy. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. It took quite a while for it to kind of settle down though, right? We did the saline session, and I think it was around a month or so until your brows got back to the normal.
But it wasn't bad. So the first 4 or 5 days, it was pretty bad.
Scabby?
It was scabby.
Okay.
But that was fine because if you're anything like me and you're just so excited to get to that end line and you're almost there, I didn't care. At that point, I was just like, it's okay, bring it on. I knew what to expect too. Yeah. And
did you try to conceal the scabs?
I was just going to say that. Yes, and it worked.
Did it?
Yes.
What'd you do?
Just concealer, and I had a little brush and I just got in between, and then I just fluffed my hair.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And then put a little makeup on the ends. That was actually on like day 3. So it wasn't bad.
You're not supposed to put makeup on it though. No, I'm just kidding. You can, I guess like an open wound, really, it's not good to put the makeup on, but if you have to go out and about and you need to conceal it, then I guess that's your only option.
It was just a scab.
Yeah.
It wasn't open wound.
Not open. Yeah. Okay.
No. I know what you're saying, but it felt comfortable enough to, I know just to leave it alone. And
yeah. I'm really wondering now, so you've been through the laser removal process and you know how difficult it was to get that pigment out. When you use pigment, when you select pigment, do you keep that in mind for your clients that you're working on, that at some point they may decide to make a change?
I like to start on the lighter side because we can always go darker. We can always go more full when I see them for their touch-up. Maybe that's all they wanted. They like that softness. They like that level of, just a little bit more natural. Or they might say, Sara, I liked it right when you did it. It was a little darker, a little sharper. Then I just bump up the color. So I do play it safe.
You're talking about saturation level.
Saturation.
But actually, when you pick the pigment off of the shelf and you shake it up and you consider the ingredients, do you think about what's in that pigment when you tattoo somebody, or has that thought not really?
Oh, of course, with the right level of modifying the colors.
Yeah.
Is that what you're?
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that there's some pigments that have yellows in there that are just impossible to remove.
Right.
Back in the day, even, less than 10 years ago when people were doing brows, I don't think anyone considered the option of possibly having to remove them. And now it's quite common for people to get brows and 2 years later decide, hey, I want to remove these. I want to change the shape, or I want to go all natural, or whatever it may be. So that seems to be something that is an option now. So when you're choosing the pigment, are you kind of making it easier for your clients?
So I have asked Hoy and Lance from Hoy Tattoo, because they do have the laser now, and they've educated me a lot on the laser. And I think that's why I got so stoked on the laser removal and reached out to you and found you. But I've asked them what pigments were stubborn. Which ones did you find the most yellow? Like, was it this brand, that brand? And I think Lance told me a couple. I do use Hanafi right now, which I love, but I would love to do a couple test marks, and maybe we can hit the laser and just make sure that it is being easily lifted out, because that is huge.
Permanent makeup is often advertised as semi-permanent, but some of the pigment that's being used is far from semi-permanent.
Right.
It would be nice if a pigment manufacturer actually considered the laser and almost worked it backwards.
Aren't you working on that?
I've been speaking. I'm not plugging my own thing here. No, I do talk a lot with the owner of Solid Ink.
Okay.
Federico, he's a friend of mine, and we work together to make SMP pigment, a scalp micropigmentation pigment. And he had at one point a permanent makeup line, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he discontinued it, but he's been talking about getting that going again. So at some point, I would like to see that happen, either with him. I do think, though, it should be a standard across the industry.
Yeah.
I think it would be nice to see, I'm sure if one manufacturer did it, others would follow. But I think somebody needs to take the initiative and be like, okay, look, these are the pigments, almost work it backwards. Like, which ones are so stubborn that can't be removed with the laser? What ingredients? And let's not include them. And let's see if we can make a pigment that's going to last and look nice and, allow for people to make changes when they want to.
Right.
I would say that's probably the biggest concern when people come in to get removal, is that they don't want to end up with yellow.
Right.
And, even a lot of your clients, when you send them into us and we go through the initial consultation, that's like the last part, the last section is like, okay, let's talk about pigment and what you can expect during the process. So nobody's surprised. And that's usually when people get really nervous and they're like, well, I don't think I can walk around with yellow brows. Or
Yeah.
if they want to change the shape for any reason, you know, and you have yellow poking through, it's just gonna, I mean, it is pretty noticeable. Some yellow is quite noticeable.
I agree. And I do see some photos of cover-ups with the yellow underneath, and I'm just like, oh, that was expensive. I don't know if, like, sometimes I think you could do a nice powder. There's options, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how many clients do you think, like, percentage-wise, turn to a point yellow where it'd be hard to cover up?
There are quite a few.
Quite a few.
Yeah, lately I've seen a lot more.
Yeah.
Even some years ago, I was not seeing as much yellow, but now I would say maybe 25% of our clients have yellow undertones. Right.
And this is probably mostly due to the cover-ups
or the corrections
from the cover-ups. So when they come in for the gray brows and they don't do laser, and the artist says, I can cover that up, they color correct, do the strokes or the powder, and then there's that much more red, yellow in their skin for the removal process. So it makes it even worse.
Yeah, so not doing the laser from the beginning
yes,
and choosing to color correct is what's causing a lot of the issues, you think? Yeah. So I'd say out of that 25% of the people who have yellow, I would say half of them will successfully remove it, and the other half, they're stuck with it. And they either have to choose to do saline or to just cover them up. Mm-hmm. When you cover yellow brows, do you find it difficult?
I don't find it difficult. I've had clients come to me that have had laser elsewhere with yellow brows, and I can tell the skin has been different, like harder to work with. But this could also be from the way the old permanent makeup artist did it. So there's some scarring, right?
Yeah.
So that's been challenging. And when I do have a client with some yellow brows and you say, what should I do from here? Do you think it'd be a nice cover up? I have them come in and I will draw some strokes over top. If the yellow's poking out too much, maybe go in for another removal. Maybe saline would be a good option. But it is nice to be able to draw on the strokes and see if that color behind is going to bother. And knowing that the strokes I draw on top will be a little lighter. I try to be really delicate with that process to give it the most realistic.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, when you see yellow and you're trying to cover it up, does that change your approach, like how you align your strokes? Do you put them a little closer?
Yeah, I will.
Saturate it a little bit more?
Maybe not in the first session, just to play it safe, see how it heals, because I might not have to place them too close. And I can always do like nice pixelated fluffies in between just to soften that yellow or hide it, camouflage it a little bit without going too heavy.
It's kind of like cooking, and when you're using salt, like you can add salt, but if you add too much right away, you're in big trouble. So you can always keep adding it.
Yeah, and it might be great, So.
Yeah, so less is more. That's why I love your work. It's like nice and fluffy.
Yeah,
and it heals nicely. I've seen, in person too.
Oh, thank you.
Clients have come in like thinking of changing the shape, and I'm like, those are great. You don't have to do anything; just leave them alone. Yeah, I've seen a lot of your work in person and online, and it's all been awesome.
Thank you. Well, your work is amazing too. That's why I'm sending everybody your way.
Thanks.
And they have great experiences with your whole staff, and
yeah, we're trying.
Yeah,
it's over the years when we first started doing brow removal, we were kind of figuring things out as we went along. But now I think we kind of have a really good understanding. Pigments haven't been changing much. Not only pigments that are coming right out of the bottle, but ones that are modified or mixed. Those are the ones that we have the biggest problems with. Yeah. And you can tell, you can see the brows right away and know that this was just some big mixing pot of pigment that, it always seems to turn like a burgundy color underneath.
My pigments that I use now, we can modify the level of the modifier. So I can add the orange. Does that make sense? And how much warmth needs to be added.
You having experience, I think what will and will not heal nicely over time. But a lot of the artists out there, some of them new, some of them not, they'll mix pigments together thinking like, oh, this is gonna, like, this looks great right here, but they don't really take into consideration, or they don't know how it's going to heal over time. And that's when we see, like, we've seen some brows. It's like, I don't know what color that is. Like, it's just mixed, and it always seems to turn like this burgundy color. And we're like, oh no, here we go again. Like, we can tell right away.
Yeah. And it's frustrating because then you feel like this industry's in this vicious cycle and there's no changes being made. It's like same pigments, then the laser and the yellow, you know. Yeah. So
that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this podcast, was to bring a little bit of awareness about pigments and what works with laser, what doesn't, all of our experiences. I'd like to share it so that way we can help educate people. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a challenge to just kind of keep up with the pigments. I would say that's probably the most difficult part of doing the laser.
I think too, the way pigment is implanted in the skin, when it's oversaturated, that's when you really get the more ashy gray tones. And then there's the corrector put on top. So if everybody could just lighten their hand and the pigment load, you'll see that color a lot more. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
If you're delicate with the application, then you'll see a nice crisp.
And then your touch-ups are a lot more refreshing to see those warm colors without oversaturation all the time.
Well, I think that skill comes with confidence. If you have confidence and you know how it's going to heal, because when you're doing the tattoo, you have to trust the process as the tattooer or as the artist. You have to know how that's going to heal. And if you don't, and you try to do too much, the next thing you know, you have a big blown out tattoo that's just going to turn to a blob.
Right.
And I learned that the hard way, tattooing, when, you're doing like a little script or something like that, and you think, oh, that letter's not dark enough, I need to go over it a few times to get it to, I want it to heal dark. And you see it like a year later and you're like, oh man, that thing is blown out. I went way too hard. Any type of line work that is the case. I think that would be a very difficult thing to tattoo. Is like, you're tattooing on the face, there's hairs there, and you're trying to do single needle lines on can you pick a harder thing to do?
I know. Well, it's funny too, because my clients with no brows or alopecia clients, those are the best. It's a clean slate. It's almost like a piece of paper. It is like needle in a haystack when people have full hair.
Yeah.
Trying to fish in there and find that line, but it's fun. Yeah. Sometimes I do sit back and I'm like, wow, these people have so much trust in me. I'm tattooing their face. It's pretty rewarding,
It is. And it's the same with doing, with the removal. Sometimes we see people come in and they're not happy with their brows at all. And they look after the first session when we do get lucky sometimes, and we'll just completely remove it.
Oh yeah. I have those clients. Yeah. And I post them on my Instagram. They're still there. Just like, look at this. But also you educate that it's not always going to be that way. Yeah,
it's definitely not, but we do get lucky sometimes. And when we see those clients look in the mirror and they, we have people crying for joy all the time. But then again, there are some other ones that are not as easy at all. So I don't want anybody to get the impression that this is an easy process. On average, it usually takes anywhere between 3 sessions and 6 sessions to completely remove the pigment and not damage the skin. And I always tell people, they hem and haw about, 3 to 6 sessions. And they do the math in their head. They're like, oh, that's going to be, 8 months or whatever it's going to be. And I tell them, I say, we can get that off in 1 session if you want, but I don't think that's what you want. You want to do it safely. You don't want to damage the hair follicles. You don't want to singe them off or create scar tissue that you can't cover with a tattoo. So that's my goal. When you send your clients to us, I want to educate them. I want to do the job properly and send them back to you with a nice clean slate with no scar tissue.
It's important taking care of their skin. And again, I always say, this is your face. Like, don't just cover it up and then have to deal with, because you're going to have to deal with it. At some point, you're going to have to get it removed. And now's the time, before you make it worse. And then you are dealing with all those funky colors and who knows.
We normally say after laser, it's a good idea to wait at least 3 months before you get tattooed again. And sometimes we see our clients and you'll post a picture of like redoing their brows, or like another artist will post it, and it'll be like 3 weeks after.
No.
And
I've had clients that come to me, and as soon as my needle is in the skin, sometimes even when I'm drawing, like I'm like, this is like butter skin. This is not healed. I had a client once that I knew she wasn't honest with me about how long it'd been, and that was frustrating. So I make it, learning from that experience with that client, I make it really clear, like, we need your skin to be fully healed for you to get the best results.
So when you see somebody come in immediately after getting laser and you try to tattoo the skin, what's the difference? Like, how do you know that the skin is not fully intact?
Well, it all depends. Sometimes I have to go a little slower, make sure that the pigment is setting in there. But again, it all depends on the skin type. It can be very different. I switch my needles sometimes to a little bigger of a configuration.
But do you notice it, like you said, butter skin earlier? So do you mean like the skin is so soft that it's not firm enough you feel like it's not going to retain the pigment?
Sometimes, yeah.
That's what I think. And that's what I normally tell people.
Yeah. And you can tell. I mean, like I said, that one client in particular, when I wiped my first stroke, it was like almost gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, girl, like this, come on, I slowly got a little bit more out of her. She didn't come to you for the removal, but I think a lot of that had to do with maybe some scarring as well from the previous work, but her skin from the removal, like, it was pretty bad. Like, you can tell. But yeah, I do make it a big point. Like, I will not touch you unless it's been 3 months.
Yeah. I think 3 months is a good amount of time. If I know I've gotten laser, in spots like on my leg or whatever, and the feeling after a couple weeks, it's not done. It still has to kind of get back to normal, and it does take a couple months minimum. It's not a great feeling. I'll be the first to say that. I actually hate getting laser.
No, mine wasn't bad at all.
Was it?
No. And did you numb me? Do you not? I don't even remember.
I don't know if we use numbing cream.
I just remember the ice cube and then the hose, and it was so fast.
We use ice. We use the chiller. It's usually pretty fine. For me, though, I don't know if I'm just a sissy or if I'm hypersensitive or whatever, but it hurts. And I know after even a month's time, I do not want to tattoo over that spot. Like, there's no way in the world. I've had laser on my legs and like arms and stuff. But if it was my face, I think definitely waiting the amount of time that is recommended is probably a good idea. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today. It's been great having you on and learning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to learn a little bit about you and what you do. Sara, IrishWolf Artistry in South Surrey. Thank you very much for coming on. And I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, take care.